All right, what's up, folks? Welcome to Exit Strategy here on Kipod. I am your host, Be Good, and you're probably saying, "Wait, Kipod? I thought it was Itchapod." I still got some friends who check out the channel who call it Itchapod, but it is Kipod. Think about Ichabod. Think about Ichabod Crane. Think about Ichabod from the Bible. There's a prophet who's telling a woman to name her child Ichabod because it's a symbol that the glory of God has departed. Well, we called this show Ichabod because we said the glory of God has departed. Some Christians will say, "Yeah, I know, it's departed from your life." No, we say the quote unquote glory that we used to think was residing in and over the text of the Bible, the glory has departed from that. So this is Ichabod, and we spend a lot of episodes explaining why we see a fading glory, not just from the faith that we held, but from the idea of religion altogether. Once you step back, you begin to see what it's really hitting for. So that being the case, yes, welcome to Ichabod. Come on in. Got a great time we're going to have tonight. A friend of mine is going to be on the channel to discuss some things. And let me come check y'all in the live chat and see what's good. Make sure you like. What's up, SG? What's up, Michael Apple said, Itchapod? Oh, yeah, we're scratching that itch you have. But what's up, y'all? Come on in. Greet somebody, as we like to say here. Greet somebody in reason's name. Hope your day's been going good. Taryn Price, what's happening? Did you see I had to read your comment the other day? You left a comment that was so on point. I had to spin the block to get it back on the channel. Appreciate all the comments that you guys leave. All that helps out. If you're not a Patreon supporter, you can join the Patreon, $5 a month or $10 a month. We got people who even go above and beyond that call. We appreciate it. It helps us do a lot. And I keep saying us because you're seeing me, but I also have guests on this channel frequently, and there's a lot of things that I'm looking to be able to do with the channel. So thank you for joining the Patreon. If you're wondering what the Patreon is so that you can join, I'll put it in the chat. And if you can't join the Patreon, you know what you can do? You can like, you can subscribe. How many of you all share the content here? If there's a video that you feel like, hey, I think I could spark a convo with so-and-so based off of what y'all said here, share the videos. Take the link, send it to a friend, give them a timestamp, say, hey, let's talk about what they say at 10 minutes in to 12 minutes in. Let's share these videos. That helps to spread the awareness of the channel, and it helps YouTube to decide to prioritize what's happening here. So definitely appreciate that. Music by Artemis at Night says, found you from Myth Vision. That's what's up. Appreciate that. That's my guy. But speaking of my guy, I'm not alone tonight. I'm going to bring onto the stage maybe about a month and a half ago now. I had this brother on, Dedrick, aka Psyonik, spitting some bars and giving us his life after faith story. There's a few people who I've done life after faith episodes with, and the comments, people are like, yo, bring this guy back on, bring this guy back on. Chris Mallard is one, and I'll be bringing Chris Mallard back on soon. We're going to do something that I think is very, very interesting. I've got a series that I'm going to do soon where I'm going to be I'm going to be reviewing some of my old Christian raps and deconstructing the quote unquote logical reason that I was presenting Jesus to people in these rhymes. And I'm going to be bringing on primarily people who've got a background in hip hop. I'll be bringing some guests on to help talk about taking these rhymes apart. And I don't know if I'm going to call this series, I'm either going to call it Raising the Bar, not R-A-I-S-E, raising, the other raising where you're bringing things down, Raising the Bar, or I'm going to call it um, Jesus Unwrapped or Unwrapping Jesus. So you can let me know in the chat, which of those two do you think would be a better title for that series? Raising the Bar or Jesus Unwrapped or Unwrapping Jesus? And your comments will let me know which of those potential titles I'm gonna run with. But enough of that. Let's get to it. Let me bring on to the stage my man Dedrick, aka Psyonik.
Hello, hello.
What's going on?
What's happening?
Chilling. So, first of all, I got a super chat from Hammers Over Strikers. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Said, saw you review movies. Have you seen Life of Pi? Yes, I saw Life of Pi years and years ago.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, it was a great movie. It's one of those movies that I felt like I always wanted to go back and watch again. Actually, there are a lot of movies that I want to go back and watch again now that I've fully owned my deconversion. Because I think for a long time, from 2014 to 2020, I was still watching them with two minds. And if you're on that DJ, maybe you can speak to this.
A double-minded man.
Yeah, like did you have a period where you were when you were taking in media and kind of like sifting it through the mind you had as a believer and the mind that you were developing as a skeptic, doubter, trying to see which of the two made more sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I think that lasts a while because, it's programming. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't. You can't get rid of it overnight.
Yeah.
Dude. There's a whole. I want to say like 8 years of pop music I just didn't listen to.
Yeah.
It's like
I get that.
People are like, you didn't hear, like that was so big, and I'm just like, nope.
Wow.
Didn't hear it.
Yeah. I missed Biggie's catalog with that.
Oh,
I missed the transition when the South took over. There were some people from my generation who were able to keep up because they were always listening to what was going on.
right.
I was detoxing from the culture during those years.
Yeah.
So I missed that transition.
Yeah. Very heavy on the don't listen to this stuff. It'll, program you to think like they do. And yeah. So
Life of Pi as a movie review. You know what? I'll take it, but primarily what I do with the movie reviews is I pitch it to the Patreon supporters and say, hey, how would you guys feel about doing this movie? And so we've only done one so far, but I'll pitch it to the Patreon team and see if they want to do that. And I had some book ideas too, but we'll see.
Ooh.
So Psyonik, we had you on a little while ago.
Yes, indeed.
I guess you watched people watch your Life After Faith video. So it went out there. People made their comments. Anybody in your life personally see you tell your story and maybe have something either supportive or combative to say after watching your video?
So I want to say maybe the most important message I got was one from my cousin. And so he's a preacher, and we're cool, whatever. We debate all the time. But he wasn't sure. He said he wasn't sure whether or not I was an atheist out of convenience or whether I came to that conclusion like sincerely. But he watched our show and sent me like this really heartfelt message and was just like, man, like I saw that you tried your hardest to stay in the faith, and he was like, I really respect you, always have, always will. Like, I'm sorry you went through that. Like, and it was just kind of like refreshing. It was like, okay, like you're hearing me, you see me. So that was cool. We got to connect on that. That was, I think that was one of the most heartfelt ones. And then a lot of the comments I saw where people were like, man, this is, it's a similar experience. I had to mourn God. I saw a few people resonate with that. And yeah, like that's something I don't think people really understand the gravity of when when you're convinced that this other voice in your head, which is not another voice, but you're convinced that your own voice in your
Yeah.
head
Yeah.
and all your confirmation bias is like looking out for you and
Mm.
protecting you from all the dangers, even though bad stuff still happens.
Wow.
But
Wow.
yeah, like you attach a lot of emotion to that, and
Yeah.
when that is gone, that is a scary feeling. I
Mm.
mean, I felt like the single loneliest person in the universe.
Mm. Jeez.
Yeah. I was like,
Well, that's what's
what?
up though, that your cousin's able to respect that you were fighting for, even if they don't think you were fighting for your faith, you were fighting for your sanity as it relates to the faith, and they could respect that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So that was cool. I appreciated that.
Yeah. Any combative responses? Anybody like try to come for you, or they just let you alone?
No. Yeah, most people kind of just like listen and express like sympathy, like or empathy. Like, sorry you went through that. So that was a pretty cool experience to see that people like were not necessarily what's the word I want to use? Assholes all the time.
Yeah. Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah, that was cool.
So I'll throw it out there to people who are on the show. Like, yeah, let me know what topics stand out to you. Anything that you feel like you want to maybe address, and you hit me up and say, hey, let's tackle what's happening right now with, you got RFK, who is now head of Health and Human Services in America, and you say you feel like this would be a good topic to address. I'm just curious, and we'll do it from a 30,000 foot view, and then we'll zoom in a little closer. But from the big picture view, why this topic?
Well, healthcare is like one of the most influential reason why humans have, the kind of lifespans, expectancy that we have today, and misinformation in the healthcare space directly affects that negatively. Like people just simply just die, and like to have this person in the highest office in that regard is absolutely insane.
Yeah. One of the things I think about is, how did we get here? How do we get in this position where, you go through COVID, you see the death, you see the growing mistrust from misinformation. You see a president who, I saw this in early 2019 when Trump started saying the only way they can beat us is if they cheat. You could tell he was priming people for, here's how I want you to receive.
Yes.
And I forgot, I need to shout out Michael Apple. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Said, for the Kipod hardware fund. Definitely appreciate that, my friend. I saw what he was saying, and I saw that people were beginning to eat it up. And I said, this is not bode well, right? When you have people believing things without any reason. And remember, this is before I came out as an unbeliever.
Right.
So I was in my mind doing the work of, I hear what he's saying. How are we going to verify these things? When they started the whole stop the steal on the night of November 4th, stop the steal stuff in Arizona, how are you going to verify these things? So fast forward, and now he begins to put together this cabinet, and he selects RFK Jr. as the potential Health and Human Services czar. And this is a man who has a history of saying things that are either not true. He's not been able to verify them. He's spreading misinformation. I said to myself, there's no way that Congress is going to accept this. Like, did you think he had a chance of really becoming what he now is?
Unfortunately, yes. Like,
wow.
Because of the things we've seen since 2016, like putting sycophants in place, there's nobody that says no.
Wow.
In this camp. And so at this point, nothing surprises me. It's just like, okay. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. I was watching his Senate hearing, confirmation hearing, and there were several points that stood out to me. One was a point where they were trying to get him to speak on whether or not he would fight for women's reproductive rights. And he was like trying to play dumb to make it seem like he didn't know that he had certain powers. Another point that stood out to me was I was trying to find this before we went live and I couldn't find it. But there's a doctor whose research he was misrepresenting. And you maybe have heard RFK Jr. say things like COVID was, it may have been designed to specifically target Caucasians and Black people, and it was done by Ashkenazi Jews.
He said, what?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Oh man, I saw him say something about like separating vaccines for people of color and white people, and I was like, this is insane. Like, this is the kind of stuff they talked about like 60, 70 years ago that got people killed.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, what do you do with this before we dive deeper on him? So there is a sense in which, especially, in thank you, Michael. It was Jews and the Chinese had programmed this this disease to target whites and Caucasians. But let me ask you this, Psyonik. One of the things that was happening during COVID was a lot of our people, African American folks, they would say, so how are we supposed to trust this government? Like, what they did to us. Go back and think about the Tuskegee experiments and those kinds of things. So on one hand, you don't want to be this science denier, vaccine denier, conspiracy theorist. But on the other hand, what did you do with the idea of but we do have a government that has a history of doing some very shady things medically, especially with Black people.
Right.
During that time, how did you parse whether or not you were going to trust the government, not just the science, but the government?
So for me, like I definitely understood like the apprehension from our community, right? Like obviously this government has and is oppressed us in many ways, healthcare included. But COVID was not an American problem. COVID was a global problem. And it's more outlandish to believe that the entire planet is designing these vaccines with malicious intent.
Right.
Rather than say, like, we're all in the middle of a crisis and we do not want to watch like half the world die in front of us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. And then the science was out there, like the COVID-19 vaccine, not the technology, but the science and the research behind the actual vaccine had already been in production for a long time.
mRNA. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Excuse me. It had been in production for a long time, and this was a perfect opportunity to utilize the research that they had already been doing to kind of speed up a response to something that could have killed us all. And to Michael Apple's point, shout out Michael Apple. I see him on your stuff all the time. He goes in, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, to his point, like he said, the idea was linked to the lab leak conspiracies, or at least one of them. And yeah, like, again, this is a camp of people that run with misinformation intentionally. Like, everybody over there is grifters, and I'm not saying there's not grifters, across the spectrum.
Right.
Obviously that, like, you're going to always have bad actors, but like there's nobody I've seen on this side as far as like being in the public space, like in the public eye, that are not grifters. There's nobody. And yeah, so like I just feel like it's necessary to kind of dispel some of those illusions.
Yeah, good stuff. One of the things that helped me was looking at particularly the science behind the vaccine, what drove their ability to target the particular cells the way that they did. When I was going through my deconversion process, Dr. Francis Collins, who was over NIH during COVID.
Yeah.
But prior to that, right around I guess the same time, he was also helping Christopher Hitchens, who Christopher Hitchens is, was before he passed away, one of the most well-known, published, outspoken atheists in the world. But Francis Collins, who was a Christian, Francis Collins had also, taken part in, matter of fact, he oversaw the Human Genome Project.
Yes.
So he not only understands, but he is a firm believer in human evolution from common descent with the great apes and all this.
Yeah.
But using the same technologies, using that same technology that they're using to fight COVID, he was also able to use that same technology to help Christopher Hitchens during his throat cancer, the throat cancer that eventually claimed Christopher Hitchens' life. But he was able to use that same science to prolong Christopher Hitchens' life. Matter of fact, there was an interview, almost a debate between Francis Collins and what's his name? Richard Dawkins.
I was gonna say that, but then I was like,
yeah,
if it's not, I don't want to see one.
And Richard Dawkins actually thanked Francis Collins, saying, even though you're a Christian and we're atheists, people on our side of the aisle were very grateful for what you did for Hitchens when he was dealing with his throat cancer, because what you did with that technology that we didn't know we were going to need during COVID, but that same technology was able to help prolong Christopher Hitchens' life.
Yeah.
And so it helped me just to see, these are people who don't have any kind of ideological dog in the fight, in terms of, like, I'm not just saying this, just doing this to make money off of it, or to get a better following, or these are people who are ideologically opposed to each other, but agreeing that science and technology helped to prolong the life of this outspoken atheist. And the Christian lent his hand to that. So those kind of things made me say, like, this is a human endeavor. Humans are trying to figure out, how do we prolong our lives? How do we stave off disease? How do we make the world better for ourselves?
Right.
Why would I fight that process just in the name of the fears or the suspicions or I don't want to trust you because historically some things have happened? I'm like, yeah, that is our history, but this is where we are now.
Yeah, I would say COVID absolutely accelerated my deconstruction, because I was just sitting there like, man, science has provided us, like, and the scientific method, right, has provided us with quite literally everything we have in terms of the lives we lead, luxury, necessity, and everything in between. Like, why are we sitting here arguing about this when people are dying? Like, it was insane, man, and it absolutely jaded the shit out of me. I'm still green.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got a clip to play here. I think we're going to do this one first. All right. You want to set this one up, or just go right into it?
Yeah, just go for it. Go for it.
All right. Here's RFK Jr. during his confirmation. What's it called? All right, if you guys don't hear it, let me know, but it should be plug and play. Let's see.
Mr. Kennedy, you have spent years pushing conflicting stories about vaccines. You say one thing and then you say another. In your testimony today under oath, you denied that you were anti-vaccine. But during a podcast interview in July of 2023, you said, quote, "No vaccine is safe and effective." In your testimony today, in order to prove you're not anti-vax, you note that all your kids are vaccinated. But in a podcast in 2020, you said, and I quote, "You would do anything, pay anything to go back in time and not vaccinate your kids." Mr. Kennedy, all of these things cannot be true. So, are you lying to Congress today when you say you are pro-vaccine, or did you lie on all those podcasts? We have all of this on tape, by the way.
Yeah.
Just the idea of holding somebody's feet to the fire to say, look, here's what you said. You've written books about this stuff. You've been on podcasts. And now here you are today, because you're trying to get confirmed at a Senate hearing. Now here you are telling us something completely different. These two things can't be true at the same time. So which is it? This is and once again, I'm sure there's somebody who's going to look at this and say, oh, but you could say the same thing about Democrats. Yeah, probably. But let's deal with what's in front of us here.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen over and over, even with the thing that just happened this past weekend with the Signal Gate, with Hexeth and, putting
Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, putting all these classified details about this attack in this insecure, thread, a group chat.
Right.
And then you watch them before Congress, and here they are again trying to have it both ways, trying to say it's classified on one hand, but then it's not classified on the other hand.
Yep.
Like, I remember watching these hearings and saying to myself, there's no way we're going to accept this, whether it was Kash Patel, whether it was Tulsi Gabbard, or with this guy. So you got somebody trying to hold his feet to the fire. How does he escape this? How does he get through this and still end up becoming the head of Health and Human Services?
The number one tactic is just to deflect, dodge, deny, lie, whatever is necessary. And
well, see, the thing that's going to become clear in a little bit is the nexus between the tactics that are being used here and the tactics that many Christian apologists use.
Man, you took the thought out of my brain. You took the thought out of my brain.
It's almost like one prepares you for the other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the same skill set, the same muscle memory that you need to keep your cognitive dissonance alive and well in faith. Is the same kind of cognitive dissonance you need to be sitting in a hearing like this, hear the guy talking out of both sides of his mouth, and still say, okay, I'm going to believe you.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Absolutely.
All right, let's let him cook.
Senator, as you know, because it's been repeatedly debunked, that statement that I made on the Lex Friedman podcast was a fragment of the statement. He asked me, and anybody who actually goes and looks at that podcast and will see this, he asked me, are there vaccines that are safe and effective? And I said to him, some of the live virus vaccines are. And I said, there are no vaccines that are safe and effective. And I was going to continue for every person. Every medicine has people who are sensitive to them, including vaccines.
Right. So
he interrupted me at that point.
Like he's about to get interrupted right now, rightfully so.
Including on national TV. You know about this, Senator Wyden. So bringing this up right now is dishonest.
let's be clear about what you've actually done then, since you want to deny your statements. For example, you have a history of trying to take vaccines away from people. In May of 2021, you petitioned the Food and Drug Administration to not only block Americans from having access to the COVID vaccine, but to prevent any future access to the life-saving vaccine. Are you denying that? Your name is on the petition.
We brought that petition after CDC recommended the COVID vaccine without any scientific basis or 6 years.
I know you said you wanted to start at 2 minutes in, but I can't see the timestamp in this window here. So did we hit what you wanted to hit on this, or is it coming up?
Yeah, this is perfect. This is perfect. Like what he just said, like the CDC recommended the vaccine with no scientific basis or backing. Like that makes no sense. A vaccine cannot be produced without an extreme mountain of scientific research, evidence, and testing. Like,
yeah,
this is clearly just a lie, and it's intended to prey on people who are already primed and conditioned to not trust science and to make decisions against their best interests.
Well, let me ask you, because somebody could say, well, I mean, what would he have to gain from doing something like that? He's doing this for the health of the country. What does he have to gain from spreading misinformation?
Money.
You want to say anything about that?
Right. What does anybody have to gain from spreading misinformation? Your trust. And once I have your trust, I can get anything from you, right? I can get you to vote the way I want. I can get you to buy my book. I can get you to come to my rally and buy expensive tickets and buy the merch and whatever else the fuck. Like, what does anybody have to gain by lying?
His organization is called what is it? The Kids Health Defense or something like that?
Yes. Oh man, and that's so nefarious, especially like in relation to the next video that we're gonna watch. That's so nefarious.
So they made an extreme amount of money during COVID peddling this misinformation and getting people to support their misinformation spreading.
Yes.
Let me see. Do I have the next video? Let me take it out of here first. So RFK Jr. I don't want to steal the thunder. I don't think I've watched the next video, but what's the topic? Because I don't want to say too much if it's going to come up in the next video.
So did you hear about Samoa?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what this is going to be about.
Yeah. So that happened in what, 20, I want to say 15 or 16. And now we have another set of outbreaks in multiple states. Yeah. So yeah, I want to say that's absolutely relevant.
All right, let's go.
Yeah.
And well, I'll hold my comment. It's called Watch. Here it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Kennedy, I wanted to ask about your role in the 2019 measles outbreak in Samoa. In July 2018, 2 children died immediately after receiving a measles vaccine that nurses had mistakenly mixed with a muscle relaxant. The nurses get charged with manslaughter, but vaccination rates go down. I asked you about this in my office. You told me flatly that your visit to Samoa had nothing to do with vaccinations. We now know that's not true. I have the documentation. You met with the Prime Minister. You talked about vaccinations. You met with an anti-vaccine influencer who described the meeting as, quote, profoundly monumental for this movement. So what happens? Vaccinations go down. There's a measles outbreak and children start dying. But you double down. You didn't give up. Just 4 days after the Prime Minister declared a state of emergency, 16 people already dead, you sent a letter to him promoting the idea that the children had died not from measles, but from, quote, defective vaccine. You launched the idea that a measles vaccine caused these deaths. You are a very influential man. In fact, you are called the leader of the Disinformation Dozen. UNICEF and WHO, the World Health Organization, investigated this. They say the claims are false. It is not biologically possible what you claimed. And yet, ultimately, more than 70 people died because they didn't get vaccines. So my question is, do you accept even a scintilla, just even a sliver of responsibility for the drop in vaccinations and the subsequent deaths of more than 70 people? Anything you do different?
No, absolutely not. After there were 2 incidents which children died in 2015 and again in 2008. 2015, it was from the measles vaccine. That's what the New Zealand General Hospital found. The government of Samoa banned the measles vaccine after the 2018. I arrived in July of the next year after the ban had been in place for a year.
Mr.
And the
Chairman,
measles,
understanding that you wanted to hold this to a minute and that I don't get to present all the facts and documentation I've got, how about if we just decide to make entries for the record on exactly what the record shows about Mr. Kennedy's participation?
So there's a record that shows what actually happened as opposed to what he's trying to say right now.
Yes.
Go
Yes.
ahead.
Oh man, there's so much here. The obvious easy target of his voice. uh,
I've always refrained from, because I didn't want to make any kind of ad hominem
yeah,
attacks
yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
what
yeah, yeah.
does he or anybody else ever say about why his voice is that way?
I have no idea. I have no idea. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Like from the way kind of his face looks,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean like like genuinely how his face looks. It seems like he may have suffered a stroke.
Hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, that kind of sucks. But anyways,
Hold on. Anybody in the comments? Do you know any more about why RFK Jr.'s voice is that way? If you know, throw it in the chat. But go ahead.
so yeah, so 83 people in total died
Mhm.
from that vaccine, and they were children. They were children, and
Not
he
from the vaccine.
no. So I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
misspoke. From
Mhm.
the measles
Right.
and from as a direct
Not being vaccinated.
yes, as a direct result of vaccine misinformation.
Yeah.
83 people died.
Hmm.
Um, he lied about what his purpose was going there.
Hmm.
He absolutely spread vaccine misinformation, and the toll were people's lives, were people's children. And like this is the kind of thing I think you and I both like to harp on, is not like the political aspect of this is not necessarily even something I'm interested in personally. um more less so that I'm interested in people believing things that are untrue, and that belief
Hmm.
having consequences in their lives. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's one thing for somebody to be a religious believer and maybe, I don't know, waste 20 years of their life in something that's not verifiable, but it's another thing to lose your life entirely,
Hmm.
based on
Wow.
misinformation.
Yeah.
And yeah, like ah this kind of stuff is vile, dude. This kind of stuff is vile, and people just eat this up. And like I have friends that are anti-vax. Granted, we don't talk much anymore. But like I literally I had shared something RFK said on my Facebook, and one of my friends commented and talking about like, oh, there's metals in the vaccine and this and that and the next. And I did a deep dive, um, and it turns out that there is one single aluminum one single atom or
Hmm.
molecule, one of those, uh, in a vaccine, and it kind of boosts the efficacy by some significant amount.
Hmm.
The toxicity of a single atom of aluminum in the blood is
Right.
nil. It's zero. Um, but people use that as, oh, there's metal in vaccines and blah blah blah. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then of course, I think Michael Apple mentioned earlier about the vaccine autism link,
Hmm.
uh, which we were talking earlier backstage about Andrew Wakefield, who was the original, the origin of this lie. He was
Yeah.
a British physician who uh, like faked these scientific tests
Hmm.
using children who were already confirmed to be autistic, and then giving them these MMR vaccines, and then saying, oh, look, the vaccine caused their autism. And with things like science misinformation, like
Hmm.
as soon as you put a headline out and say it's science, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
how true it is.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what papers you attach or nothing. People are just going to take that headline,
Yeah.
and the damage is done.
I talk about this sometimes. Brandolini's law, aka the bullshit asymmetry principle. It's a way to refer to the extreme ease with which you can start a rumor
Yes.
versus or juxtaposed to the extreme difficulty of setting that rumor right.
Absolutely.
If I go and I say, hey y'all, Psyonik uses ghostwriters, he don't write his rhymes. If I start that rumor and you want to correct it, you will have a much harder time correcting it than
Mm-hmm.
I will have starting it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get people who that's just the way. I don't know why it is that way.
It's
I
like
don't
that
know if it's a
toothpaste back in the tube analogy. You can't put
yeah,
toothpaste back in
yeah.
the tube.
And it's like it's almost like the more you try to defend against it, no, I don't got ghost. It's they call it the Barbra Streisand effect, right?
Yep.
The more you try to deny something or try to stop something from spreading, the more you give wind
Credence.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that actually has a lot of implications for how religions spread. You can go starting the rumor about a guy raising from the dead.
Absolutely.
That's why his body's not there anymore. That's why however you want to get, once you start spreading the rumor, it's extremely difficult to stop it once it started spreading.
Yeah.
And the person who tries to stop it, the person who tries to set it right, looks like, oh, you're only saying it because you don't want it to be the case.
Yeah. Yep.
Same thing with misinformation about vaccines, about a stolen election. The one who starts the rumor has an extremely easy time starting it because I don't know what it is in our psychology. We're just that gullible. The thing we hear first is going to sit with us.
Even like in school, like when kids are getting in little tussles, and the first kid to tattle is the one that kind of receives the benefit of the doubt, even if they might have been if they might have been the person that started it. Music by Artemis at Night makes a wonderful point. We suffer from a two-party system creating a dualistic culture that divides all arguments in half and legitimizes both sides. This is why we have flat earthers and why MAGA bullshit flies. And you know what? I would say like the two-party system is symptomatic of religion, specifically Christianity. Christianity is a very black and white religion. It's either sinful or it's not. You're with me or against me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and they more progressive Christians would call that legalistic, but if you read the Bible in a plain way and you try not to like add your own more palatable interpretation onto it, there's a lot of stuff that's just very black and white. And it's no surprise that anybody that's kind of a purist or let's use the word fundamentalist would be a black and white, either or, right or wrong, left or right kind of person.
You know what? One of the things I realized post deconversion, especially post owning my deconversion, was it turned my critical thinking skills and my skepticism up on everything. So it wasn't just religious claims. I don't care whether it's that or whether it's Doge coming out with its wall of receipts saying, hey, we found fraud and abuse in the government. Like, even anytime I hear a claim, I immediately go through this checklist of, is it plausible? Is it possible? Is it probable? And if it were, we know it's possible. Okay, we've said it's plausible and it's a little probable. If it were actually true, what would it look like? What would the case be? You start thinking about, would whistleblowers have come out sooner? Would this have happened?
Right.
Like once you start going through life with that skill of critical thinking, it's not just the form of faith that you had, it's everything.
Yeah, literally. Forrest Valkai on the Atheist Experience, he was talking to a caller once, and he said it was somebody kind of like trying to argue the existence of God, or maybe like the resurrection of Jesus, one of those. But his response was, so like, my response to that would be something like, if I'm sitting in a house in Texas or some big city in the United States, and I hear hooves beating on the ground outside, is it possible that those hoof beats could be zebras? Yes, it is possible. Is it plausible that those hoof beats could be zebras or giraffes? Yes, it's plausible. But is it probable
Yeah.
that those hoofbeats are zebras? Probably not, because I
Right.
live in the US
Right.
and there are no zebras here.
Mhm.
And the likelihood of every single zebra breaking out of whatever zoo is nearest me and
Mm.
running past my house is
Mm.
extremely low. And in the same way, is it probable that the mountain of research around vaccines that say they're 97% 97% effective against whatever it is they're vaccinating against is wrong is
Mm.
pretty low. Like
Mm.
I'm not a person that is like, like let's trust science blindly, because obviously science is something that updates.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of times where they say, you know what, hey, we thought this, we found more evidence to, in this direction, we're updating the model. But there's never a time, it's highly unlikely
Mm.
that the amount of evidence in any given field of science that has been compiled till now, it's highly unlikely that anything that they discover is going to completely shatter
Mm.
their understanding of what they've found so far. If anything, it's going to slightly update
Yeah, refine it maybe.
and refine the model that they
Mhm.
have, rather than, oh, this is just not good for anybody at all.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? And yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I'm thinking about, there's several issues with somebody like a RFK Jr. When we
Mhm.
talked about the anti-vax, and we live in a world where, like you said, everything that we do has been benefited by the scientific process. We're constantly learning what we can get rid of in terms of, oh, the world doesn't work that way. It works this way. We can capitalize on that. We can bring products to market based on this.
Yeah.
We benefit from these kinds of things. So being an anti-vaxxer, that there's an issue that way, it makes life less safe for the rest of us when you have people who, like
Correct.
you said, you got a measles outbreak. Now it's starting to, it's jumping from state to state now. So you have all those issues. You end up being anti-science at some point. He claims he's not anti-science, but like they called him out. He says, all my kids are vaxxed. Yeah, but you've since gone back and said if you could go back and do it over again, you wouldn't have vaxxed them. So
Well,
you
guess
can't
what? They're
claim,
already vaxxed.
right? You can't claim that you vaccinating them decades ago is proof of your, support of vaccination now. It's not. You've already disowned, you've already, outcried against your former self for doing that.
Uh-huh.
That's not who you are.
Right.
So there's the anti-science-ness of it. The nexus, what do you think is the nexus between the thumbnail for this video? I say, which is the worst? Which is the worst cure? Is it RFK Jr.'s anti-science? I forgot, what did he say? He put something out recently where he said something was a better cure for measles. Was it something like some kind of oil? Was it cod liver
oil, dude.
That's what it was.
Oh my gosh.
And now you got kids who have now you've got this excess amount of vitamin A in your system causing liver failure. Like you're hurting people with your anti-science, anti-vax nonsense. So the question though, which do you think is the worst cure? The ivermectins and the hydroxychloroquines, whatever he's putting at the cod liver oils for things that it doesn't treat. Is that the worst cure? Or do you think you could make a case that prayer and a religion is the worst cure?
True, that's tough. I would say RFK's methods are worse because religious people still go to the fucking hospital.
How about it?
So yeah.
Now, is that a cop out though? Not a cop out on your end. I put this on Facebook about 2 months ago. I said, when Christians dial 911, is that a silent admission of anything?
Yo, because Jesus himself said, if you ask for anything in my name, you shall have it. It shall be done. So, I mean, you don't even got to read the Old Testament. You don't got to care about none of the moral implications of the entire Bible. These are Jesus's words. If you want to be like well, I just love Jesus. He said it, and he couldn't lie, right? Even though he did. So why are you going to the hospital?
I hear a noise in the middle of the night. I can grab one or two things. I can grab my phone and dial 911, or I can grab my gun. Or I can do both. I can grab my gun and grab my phone and dial 911.
Right.
Or I could, if I have the option of doing those two things, or pray, and I choose, let's say I'm a Christian. It's one thing for me as a non-Christian to grab my gun and my phone. It's another thing for the Christian to pray and then still go grab your gun and dial 911. Like, why? Which of those three is superfluous? Which of those three can you not do and probably still get
the same result?
The same result.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't want to think about that, though.
And so if I transfer that same principle over to, okay, my child is sick, I'm sick, I'm going to pray, or I could trust the medical professionals, or I could trust the guy that people are saying is a quack, but he's going against the system saying I should take ivermectin. I got a feeling some people would probably pray and take ivermectin rather than just trust the professionals.
Oh, yeah.
Are, you know what I mean? Like,
have you seen there are people now drinking unpasteurized milk? Yeah. Yeah. The percentage of those who are Christians is quite high. Man, it's absolutely wild, dude. It's like I'm watching all of our like intellectual progress just like unwind and unfold, and like I feel like I'm in the fucking Twilight Zone, man.
How do you keep your sanity? Like, so before you answer, everything that's happened in the last couple of months is enough to make you lose your shit.
Yes, absolutely.
From Tulsi Gabbard to Patel to RFK Jr.,
Department of Education, to
everything,
to federal employees, like, to the fucking aviation officers.
One of these things would be enough to cripple a presence to make people start demanding, or no confidence vote, or Article 25, something to undo the sheer amount of bullshit, batshitness. How do you keep your sanity?
Dude, I don't honestly. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm like, one of the things I like to think about is like I am the product of an unbroken line of survivors since the dawn of life.
Okay.
And some of them braved the ice age, some of them ran from saber-toothed tigers and whatever else the fuck was out there. So however we gonna make it, we gonna make it. I honestly don't know how. I don't know what to do. That's new for me. I'm a very like methodical, think this out, even figure it out on the fly kind of person. But this shit is unprecedented, man. Yeah, this is unprecedented. I don't know what to do. Well,
one thing I think, I said this online or somewhere a little while back, and it was comforting because I'm seeing other people who've got much more access to the levers of power than I do. And they're saying the same thing. And that is, one of the things that we definitely cannot do is we can't stop being outraged, and we can't stop talking about it, because the second we do, we start accepting this as normal.
Yep.
And so I know there's some people who say, all you're doing is talking about it. What's the use of complaining? But I think talking about it helps to cement the idea that this is not normal, nor are we going to accept it as our new normal.
Right. We need to stoke the flames.
Yeah. And soon it'll be time for action, at least at the ballot. You got midterms coming up in another year and a half.
At the very least.
even though every day there are things being done to make that less effective. So I mean, there are things that are happening right now to take that vote and make it not mean what it's supposed to mean.
I mean, Commander in Chief himself said, "Vote for me, you'll never have to vote again." Who knows what the fuck he meant? But I don't want to find out. I don't want to find out, and I hope that our officials will find some spines and like get this shit out of office, man.
Well, for history's sake, I think
right.
RFK Jr. and the whole squad, this whole cabinet, they're going to like history is going to be in a much better position if we survive all this. Those who can go back and study this in the same way that we thought. And I know there's some people who are going to say, oh, there you go, making that comparison. But no, I think it's for the point that I'm about to make, I think it's a fitting comparison. We go back and we look at Nazi Germany and we think we learned the lessons to never let that happen again. And I'm not saying that we're about to see a Holocaust or anything like that. But what I am saying is we thought we had learned the lessons from history to not allow an authoritarian dictator lie his way or manipulate his way or use our grievances or target people to turn us against one another just so that we'll give them political power. We thought we had learned that. What we're proving right now is, there's the meme that's going around. If you ever wonder what you would have done during the Holocaust,
you're doing it right now.
You're doing it right now. Well, I think we can't say we've learned that lesson from history. We clearly haven't.
I mean, honestly, that meme actually kind of like gave me some insight too. I thought about it and I was like, wow, like maybe they felt just as helpless.
Wow.
Maybe it was a similar, like, what the fuck did we do? And kind of a paralysis in that way.
I hadn't thought about that.
I don't know that we can afford to be paralyzed, but like at the end of the day, like, yeah.
Nah. See, the reason why I can't ride with that though is because, like I said, what Hitler was doing, if you go back and you take a look at Mein Kampf, he's scapegoating people and using, like, he's riling up the hatred, the putting the blame on these people. You do all of that, and the people who are, I can't see them as helpless because they allowed the narrative to continue.
True.
You know what I mean? Like they didn't stand up and say, no, we can't put it all on these people. No, we can't. They didn't do that.
Yeah.
Just like right now, the people who are not standing up saying they deported, they didn't give these people due process. This person just took part in a rally at college, and now this person can be deported. Like,
bro,
I'm seeing who aren't standing up.
I'm seeing videos, and this is not something I've been able to confirm. But I'm seeing videos of plainclothes officers running up on people and taking them somewhere for participation or posts or whatever, supporting this or not supporting that. Yeah. It's wild, dude. But I work at a very Caucasian place in a very rural area, and like there's a guy there. He's a newer guy, older gentleman. He's worn a Trump shirt like 4 out of 5 days at work, and yeah, it's wild. And some days you gotta pick your battles, dude, because it's like I'm outnumbered. I am outnumbered. And yeah, even myself, I've experienced some wild shit at this point. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's not, we definitely can't lose hope, and we definitely got to continue to talk and encourage each other and call craziness, and celebrate the victories whenever a judge does have the
The balls.
Yeah, the balls to, and a lot of them, they've been striking shit down, which
Yes.
is why, sad
Yes.
to say, you've got people in the administration saying, hey, Congress they're basically saying we can get these district courts out of here if we want. So if these district courts keep blocking what Trump is trying to do, they won't be around for long. So, but these are the fights that we're having. Hopefully everybody who's watching, people out there, you're prepared to roll up your sleeves to whether it be calling your congressman or showing up at a rally, or whether it just be talking to your, using your social media to just let people know this ain't normal and we're not going to let it become normal. Like, this is where we are.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
So,
yeah, man.
In reason's name, let's keep fighting. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything else you want to put on that before we sign out?
I think that was a good bookend.
All right. Any to the commenters, I'm curious for you all, which was your most surprising cabinet pick? Not cabinet pick, cabinet confirmation. Like, you thought clearly this person's not going to be confirmed. I'll tell you mine. Mine was Kash Patel.
Mm.
And I was primarily going off of the fact that Bill Barr, what he said back in, I think it was 2018, Bill Barr, Trump wanted Kash Patel to be I think it was deputy FBI director. And Bill Barr said, over my dead body. Like, he's so unqualified, said such an unserious suggestion. So I'm thinking, like, go back to that. And clearly this guy's not going to get confirmed. But no, he still got confirmed. And Michael Apple says, Tulsi Gabbard, is it because of the likelihood of her being an asset? Like, what was it? Purposely didn't watch for mental health, but they're clearly all insane picks. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this.
This is unprecedented, man. This is the shit that we're living through right now and the shit that we're witnessing. Like, if you told me this shit was gonna happen, I'd be like, bro, you're talking about like this is a movie. You're talking about a bad movie. But I want to say there's a good amount of them that are like Russian assets.
Yeah.
Somebody was in Moscow when they received the war plan.
Oh yeah. With what's his name? But so the thing though is, like, I used to say, maybe not agent, but definitely asset.
Yeah. Even if just like a useful idiot, Yeah,
Wickoff. That's the name I was trying to think of. I said maybe not agent, but definitely asset. Some of the things I'm seeing now, though, I'm like, man, I've said this on social media several times. If you were tasked with slowly but surely destroying the fabric of the United States, would you do anything different than what Trump has done so far?
I think I saw you post that, and I was like,
what could you do differently than what he's doing?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yep. And this seems to have been a well executed, well thought out plan.
Well, with Project 2025, you've got a nexus of the Heritage Foundation, that think tank, and they've been going for decades trying to get their ideas into a president's lap and actualized. But then you got Peter Thiel, who who put JD Vance in place.
And what, Elon Musk? Like,
I keep forgetting about Elon Musk. Like, this is the fucking
exactly.
Like, it slips in my mind just how much insanity is happening at the same time.
Well, some good news about Elon is that the globe over is boycotting Tesla, and I guess if his shares price like drops below a certain amount, he'll default on some loans, and he will suffer significant blows to where he won't be able to do both what he's doing and
Somebody said they hate it when I talk. No, nobody in the chat today. They said they hate it when I talk politics. I don't often talk politics, and I'm really not even trying to talk politics tonight.
Really.
We're only talking just how crazy, how bizarre, and harmful and dangerous he is as a Health and Human Services director. That's what we're talking. We're not really talking politics per se.
Yeah.
But if there was ever a time to talk politics,
it's right the fuck now.
Yeah.
Tell you what. Yeah.
So, hey man, but much love. Thanks for coming on. Definitely, this will not be the last time you see Psyonik on the channel. Anything you want to point people to in terms of what you got going on?
Yes, I'll be dropping some music here soon, like within the next month or so. So look out for that.
When you say some music, you're talking about a full-length project? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about 2 short projects, two EPs. One is a little bit more hip hop. Another one is a little bit more kind of like poppy.
Okay.
I've been kind of like experimenting around with like I want to say like a Prince meets Anderson .Paak type.
What?
Yeah.
And you produce all your music, right?
I do. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
I got my trusty Axis right here.
Okay.
I have a little bag on it. A little bass guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, I do a little something. But yeah, so I'm doing that, and then I just started writing some music for a full-length project that'll probably be out I'd say midsummer at least. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we got some stuff. We got some stuff in the pipeline, man.
All right.
Yeah.
And I just a little teaser. I got some stuff in the pipeline too.
Yes, I saw that. It's
not really stuff as much as this. I did a guest appearance on a track for somebody who's in the counter apologist world, a singer. And if you're a Patreon, I'm going to actually debut a little bit of it on the Patreon within the next week, because I don't think the song is coming out anytime soon, but you'll get a chance to hear some stuff. Somebody asked what the Patreon is. It is patreon.com/ickthepod. There it is in the chat right there. All right. So I'm going to let you guys go. Y'all have a good night. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed. Ring the notification bell. Share some of the stuff that's on the channel. And also, I'll be dropping. I am doing so I'm animating, as it were, the book. Let There Be Gaslight. So every day I'll be putting up little 5 or 10 minute clips from the book. Let There Be Gaslight. It's not the whole thing. It's just selected readings that I'm animating. Share those clips if you will. Yes. And Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays I'll be popping on around 1 p.m. sort of just reacting to things. Tomorrow there's a video that I have to react to. If you've seen the Marvin Sapp video.
Oh, yo.
Yeah, I'll be talking about that tomorrow at 1.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you say about that.
Yeah. If you don't know what that's about, just tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. So, all right, y'all have a good night, and I'll catch y'all next time. Much love.
Yeah, thanks for joining, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.